last week, I don't think this is going to be a bloodthirsty rock'em sock'em robot war. I don't think it's going to be a slugfest. I could be wrong. I'm predicting more of a chess match between two guys who have high fight IQs. I think the feeling out process is going to be a little bit longer than usual. So for the casual fans, they might not like this fight. Here's my prediction. I've said too much and time will tell, but I have a feeling about this fight. I like his length. I like his style. I like the edge he has with him. I watched all the media and the press the last few days in Manchester. They did a cool little promotional tour at a soccer game with Roberto Duran separating the two. And I just think there's something about Arnold Barboza Jr. this weekend. I like him as the underdog. I like him to go into Manchester and shock the world. I'm putting my money on Arnold Barboza to win a decision. I think Catterall is going to give him the best opportunity to bring the best out of Barboza Jr., and I think it's going to be his output. I think he's going to take a lot of those early rounds, and going into those mid to late rounds, I think he has what it takes to get through the deep waters and beat Jack Catterall and put himself in a position to overcome all those odds to fight for a world title.
And the new interim WBO junior welterweight champion of the world, Arnold Barboza Jr.
What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny. In today's video, we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning tonight's fight between Jack Catterall and Arnold Barboza Jr. We're going to be taking a look at the overall punch stats. We're going to break down the total narrative of this fight. And we do know Arnold Barboza Jr. is the new WBO interim champion at 140 pounds. He won a split decision on the judges' scorecard over Jack Catterall. Guys, if you would have listened to me in my fight breakdown this past week, breaking down this fight, I told you guys the reasons why I liked the 3-1 underdog Arnold Barboza Jr. I started this video with a little bit of a comeuppance. So we're doing well the last month or so in taking underdog fighters and picking them to win their fights. The last underdog we took was Chisora. He was 3-1. He beat Otto Wallin. We also picked yesterday's fight, but that wasn't too big of a shock. That was Keyshawn versus Dennis Berinchik. That video is coming out later on tomorrow. And today, going into this fight, we knew all of the stakes were against Barboza. He was flying from the US to the UK, fighting Jack in his backyard. We predicted a decision victory, and that's exactly what we got. In this video, we're gonna break down the total punches thrown, the jabs and the power shots. We're gonna talk about the statistics of those punches, because in my breakdown video, I talked about that it was going to be the what to give Arnold the win? The output. I kept saying all week, the reason why I like Barboza Jr. over Catterall was because of Barboza Jr.'s output, and Catterall has this tendency to wait for the perfect shot. That's sometimes kind of a double-edged sword when you have a beautiful backhand like Catterall. He sometimes gets a little bit too patient, and I thought that was gonna play into the narrative today, and that's exactly what happened. Of all 12 rounds, Arnold Barboza out-punched Catterall in every single round. Now, we're going to talk about those stats shortly, but man, you got to tip your hat to Barboza. He fought masterfully. Now, the judges had this as a split decision, and thank God we don't listen to the fighters who are keeping score, because I watched this fight twice already. I watched it live, and I just watched it right before I'm filming this, and they asked after the 6th round, they asked Liam Smith, Davies was in the crowd, and another fighter, his name slipped in my mind. And all these guys after 6 rounds were giving Catterall 4-2, 5-1. And I'm like, what fight are these guys watching? And I thought for sure the fix was gonna be in. I thought Barboza controlled the pace, controlled the tempo. His output was on point. And what impressed me even more about Barboza Jr. today was his speed, both with his hands and his feet. Catterall had no answer for his movement. We talked about how it was gonna be Barboza's movement last week that was gonna give Catterall fits, but we were talking about it was gonna be his left to right movement. I thought it was gonna be him circling that was gonna give Catterall the most fits, which that were the case. But what also gave Catterall fits was Barboza's movement laterally in and out. And Catterall didn't have an answer for this. He definitely didn't have a plan B, which we always talk about. The great ones always have a plan B when their first plan doesn't work. And I don't know if Catterall's camp just thought that he was gonna be too much or his power was gonna be able to wilt Barboza Jr., but I didn't see it. And you know damn well Barboza Jr.'s camp didn't see it. They executed a perfect game plan. I want to talk a little bit about, before we get into the stats, There was one moment in the fight where I thought it could swing. It was in the 11th round, and we're going to play that clip right here, where it looked like Catterall caught Barboza Jr. with a beautiful combination and floored him, and that would have been a 10-8 round. But kudos to the referee for seeing what really happened. It was actually a trip. Barboza knew he got tripped right off the bat, and it wasn't called a knockdown. It was similar in terms of the foot position as what we saw a few weeks back with Morrell and Benavidez, but we know that that was called a knockdown, and I'll stand on that hill as well because I still believe that was a push and not a knockdown. So kudos to the ref here calling it a trip and no 10-8 on the scorecards, and then letting the fight resume. But that, in my opinion, was the most controversial bit of the fight. Like I said, Barboza Jr. was never in danger, and I talked about last week, I didn't expect this to be a Rock'em Stop robot fight in terms of a blood war, and it wasn't, but it was still exciting. It was still very entertaining. You saw two guys, two different styles trying to figure each other out, and Barboza Jr. became the man to come out on top. Let's now take a closer look at those stats that told the story. One judge scored the fight 115 to 113 for Catterall, while the other two judges scored it 115 to 113 both for Barboza Jr. When we look at the total jabs landed throughout the fight, Catterall threw 141 and landed 26, while Barboza threw 184 and landed 20. Now, Catterall lands in an 18% clip, Barboza Jr. lands an 11% clip total jabs. When we look at the power punches throughout the whole fight, over the 12 rounds, Catterall throws 164, landing 45 at a 27% clip. Barboza throws 244, landing 69 at a 28% clip. And the total punches, Catterall throws 305, landing 71 at a 23% clip. Barboza Jr. threw 428, landing 89 at a 21% clip. So the reason why I thought output was going to be the signifier reason to give Barboza the opportunity to win is because Catterall showed us he was the more accurate puncher. He just didn't have his foot on the gas. It's just not his style to out-punch and out-box somebody. The thing that Catterall doesn't have, that another champion that we know who kind of has a similar sit-back-and-wait counter style, is Tank. But Tank has power to knock you out. Tank is another guy, when you look at his total output, if you were just judging a fighter on their total output and predicting will they win or lose, looking at Tank's output, he'll never out-punch his opponents, but he has that X factor in being able to start you with one punch, and Catterall just doesn't have that. And going into this fight, knowing that these styles, orthodox versus southpaw, knowing also watching Barboza Jr. all fight week, I can't talk enough about this point. Certain fighters have this sort of aura about them during fight weeks. You could see it. You don't always see it, and I'm not saying every fighter who wins always has it, but Barboza had that this week. If you watch the media outings, if you watch his interviews, if you watch the weigh-ins, this is a guy who almost knew something that we didn't know. This is a guy that told us he was going to come to England and come back a champion, and this is exactly what he did. Now, he isn't a full champion. It was an interim belt for the WBO at 140. We know that champion is Teofimo Lopez. This was a title eliminator. We never really know what Teo is going to do. They have 180 days to sign that fight. In a perfect world, from Barboza Jr.'s side, it'll be Barboza Jr. to fight Teo Lopez to unify at 140 for the WBO, but who knows? Lopez has talked about going up to 47. There's rumors that he's going to be fighting on Alcatraz Island in California as part of his Riyadh season, so maybe that's the Barboza Jr. fight, which, considering he's a Californian Barboza Jr. and Teo, the following he has, that could be a huge fight to unify the belt. So only time will tell. Let me know if you guys won money. Let me know if you took my advice. I know in the comment section, if I wanted to be rude, I could be showing all types of receipts for all you guys said that I was crazy for taking Barboza Jr. And we not only got it right, but we pretty much predicted how it was going to go. Guys, stay tuned to the channel tomorrow. Also, if you're still watching at this stage of the video, I say thank you. Hit subscribe, like this video, and share this video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.